Alright, 8th graders, good afternoon. This is our notes on adding and subtracting signed integers. This is all a review from last year, so for some of you this will be pretty easy. For some of us, it'll be a good review for us and a reminder. Um, Go ahead and fill in what I filled in there. Um, this should be something that you remember from last year. So when we're adding or subtracting, and there's signs involved, we can't trust the addition and subtraction sign, so we have to use these two rules. First one is if the signs are the same, then we find the sum, and then we keep the sign of the larger number. Now we have to remember that sum means add. That's the answer to addition. So if they're the same signs, we add. Now our second one is if the signs are different. So you identify one as positive, one as negative. That means we find the difference, and the difference means to subtract. And the same thing, we always keep the sign of the larger number. Now, if you're having trouble remembering whenever, if the signs of the numbers, if you look below the video on the Wikispace page, you'll see a table that shows the positive numbers and the negative numbers with the signs to the left. So when we're deciding on A, which rule to use, something that can help us is putting the p's or the n's above each number. So we notice the 4 is negative, so we put an n, and then the 8 is positive. So they're different letters or different signs, so that means difference. So the difference between 8 and 4 is 4. And then we always keep the sign of the bigger number, which was the 8, the positive number, so we put a positive sign. I always like to put a positive or negative sign because it helps me remember to to think about if the answer is positive or negative. All right, let's try our second one. All right, the 5 is positive. The 6 is negative. If you don't understand why, look at the table below. And different signs, we again find the difference. And we get the sign at the bigger number, which was the 6. It's negative, so -1. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead and try to do C and D on your own. So at this point, you can pause it, and you're trying C and D on your own. Okay. So our 9 is negative, and our -1 is negative. So we finally have the first rule, the same sign. So both negative, therefore we add. Keep the sign of the bigger number. They're both negative, so the bigger number is negative. So our answer is -10. All right, B. First number is negative. Second number is negative. Same signs. Find the sum. Keep the sign of the bigger number. All right, now what you're going to do is E and F. We're not going to do those in this video. You're going to do them on your own. And tomorrow we're going to check them at the beginning of class. So go ahead and pause it right now and do E and F on your own if you haven't already. Okay, now we're going to talk about whenever we have larger numbers. So ones that we can't add or subtract in our head. In order to figure out the answer for these, we have to first line the numbers up. And remember, we always line up starting on the right. We can't just put any of the numbers on top, though. You always have to put the number with the largest absolute value. What that means is we'll do our first example. So this is positive, this is negative. Now, the one with the larger absolute value is actually the negative number. Even though it's less, its absolute value, which is the value from the number 0, is larger. So this number goes on top, the 34,785. So we line that up, and we line up starting on the right. So the 0, 2, 2. We use our same rules as above. So these are different signs. We're finding the difference. Looks like we're not going to have to borrow, which is kind of nice. And then I'm either going to put a positive or negative sign. Always try to remember put a positive or negative sign because it makes you think, is it positive or negative? In this situation, the bigger number was negative, so that means I put a negative sign. It's negative 32,585. Okay, you're going to do B on your own. So I'm going to go in circle. So E and F, you did that on your own, and B is on your own also. We'll check those tomorrow. Go and turn over. All right, so now we're going to deal with if there's more than two integers. Um, so, for example, I'll put a little something like this. So in this situation, what do? We can't do this in our head, probably. We might be able to do it, but let's use these steps, and it's going to help us get it right more often and not make silly mistakes by going like left to right. First, identify each number as positive or negative. Okay. Then we're going to sum all the positive numbers, sum all the negative numbers. So you have two separate sums at this point. Then we're going to find the difference between the sums, which means, again, subtract. Difference means subtract. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on, if there's two integers, we keep the sign of the larger sum, or the larger number. All right. So we're going to go through each one of these numbers and think of it as negative or positive. So this first one's positive, second one's positive, third one's negative, 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 positive, positive. And let's use a little table. So it's going to be our positive numbers and our negative numbers. You can write them down, or you could just add them in your head. So 4 and 6 is 10, 10 and 2 is 12, and then 13. Our negative numbers are going to be 7, 9, and 14. So now we have 13 and 14. We need to find the difference. We need to subtract these two. We get 1. And we keep the sign of the larger sum, which was negative. So our answer is negative 1. Okay, you're going to do 2 on your own. So we'll check that tomorrow. Now we're going to deal with if there's word problems. So if they give you a situation in which there's opposites, so somebody went up this many times, somebody went down the stairs this many times, that's the sort of situation where we're going to use our number sentence. Pretty much what 1 and 2 look like up here, you're going to write one of your own. Okay, so go ahead and pause it right here, and you're going to read 3 to yourself. Okay, so after reading that, we can think of gains as positives, losses as negatives. So we have a positive 22 because of gain. We have a negative 15 because it's a loss, positive 3, positive 20, and a negative 5. I'm going to create my T-chart. Positives are 22, so if you want to, you can do this like we did here. Oh, that's negative. So our positives are 25 plus 20, which is 45. And then 20 is negative. So that means our positives are, well, we're going to first subtract, find the difference. So 25, and it's a positive 25. But since it's a situation, not just numbers and signs like up above, we need to put words for this. So 25, our positives, we have to remember there were gains. So, and also, what did they gain? They gained yards. So 25 yards were gained in total, which means they advanced the ball instead of going backwards. Okay, you're going to do number 4 on your own. So have that answer come in tomorrow. If you have any questions, raise your hand and ask me. Also, if you notice on the Wikispace page, there is a, if you look below it, there's practice for identifying positive and negative numbers. There's also a link to an IXL section for just 2 small numbers finding their summer difference. So you can use that to practice. All right.